Welcome to the grand finale of 1 month, 1 deck with Oger Box. This week I put a lot of extra time with the deck, testing, tweaking, and really just trying to iron out its weaknesses and improve consistency. Then it was time for the final tournament run as well, and as far as the tournament goes, I wish I could say we took it all the way and proved Oger Box was a true rogue contender, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. Despite my best efforts of trying to improve the deck and make it good in the current format, the deck was just not strong enough into the new meta, and we finished going 0 wins and 3 losses. Now, and with the release of Mega Evolutions, the format shifted hard and not in our favor. Matchups that used to feel favorable are now closer to 50-50, and the massive HP pulls on new Megas make it tough for Oger Box to even keep up with them. Generally, we lose the prize trade in those situations. On top of that, plenty of new decks entered the scene as well, creating even more challenges, and some of the top meta decks got brand new cards that allow them to completely stop those good win rates that we had into them. Here's the final deck list I ran. It's closer to the week 2 version, but with a few key updates for the current format. The biggest addition is Paldean Tauros, which gives us a much better shot into Gholdengo specifically, since we can't rely on Cornerstone anymore because Soul Rock got added to the Gholdengos now, and that's a very strong attacker that can knock out our Cornerstone in 3 hits, and they're able to get it very fast and efficiently. I also upped Prism Energy to a full 4 copies, swapped Research for 3 Lillie's Determination for better draw consistency without having to discard, and I even added a Jamming Tower as a counter against decks like Tera Box and Eevee Box that are still running around as well. I really do think that this is the best version of Oger Box by far. It culminates all 4 weeks together to making it one really good deck. And for today's matches, I will be showing one of the tournament losses, and that's just to give you a sense of where the deck struggles, and then 2 of the latter games from earlier in the week where things came together and the deck showed its real potential. Now, and before we jump into the games, please hit that like button and subscribe for more Meta Mondays, Rogue Thursdays, and of course, the 1 month, 1 deck series every Saturday. And I will be posting down a poll in my YouTube posts, letting you guys decide between 3 different archetypes as to what I play for next month's 1 month, 1 deck series as well. So be sure to look out for that as well. Alright, so game number 1, we see a Solrock and the Charcadet. So this is the Ceruledge deck that I am playing against first. They got the new Solrock and Lunatone engine as well. It's very, very strong. It's probably the best 2-card combo that has come out of Mega Evolutions is this Solrock Lunatone, and it provides so much draw power and fills up the discard for decks like Ceruledge as well. So it's a no-brainer that they play it. As for us, our opening hand is pretty good, and then we do our Lillie's Determination to get 8 new cards. This hand, we were really hoping to find more energy, but we don't, so we are just going to use this Nest Ball, get down a Latios, and then I'm really debating about playing down the Squawk and just doing another new 6 cards, which I do. And again, we still just don't find any energy. Luckily, we have a Iono in our hand, so we can use that next turn to hopefully find some energy so we can get a Torrential Pump off. We would have loved to be able to Torrential Pump this turn, be able to knock out that Charcadet before they go into the Ceruledge, and not have to worry about it, and be able to do decent damage to the Solrock and follow up to knock it out as well. Instead, they are having a fully powered Ceruledge down, and we are just going to keep locking the Solrock in the active. They don't have a Lunatone yet, so their 70 damage is actually 0 because of the effect of Solrock. And as for us, we do hit them with the Iono, and again, we just aren't finding energy. That is one of the issues that comes with this Ogerpon box deck, is there's times that you just need so many different pieces that it's hard to find them, and there's a lot of times where it's just really hard to find your energy as well. Even though we're running 8 Grass, 4 Prism, a Legacy, and 3 Earthen Vessels as well. Here, they Iono us, and we actually finally get into some grass energy, and we have an energy switch as well. They do finally get down a Lunatone and another Charcadet that they're powered up. So the game plan right now is get a Torrential Pump, knock out the Solrock and the Charcadet, but because we got some extra draws off of our Teal masks, we actually draw into a boss, and that changes everything. Because now we can actually boss up the Ceruledge. We know that we're going to lose the Wellspring next turn, so we can actually put 200 damage on the Ceruledge, knock out the other Charcadet, and be able to set up to take another knockout on this Ceruledge next turn, even though they are going to knock out one of our Pokemon next turn anyway. Here we are doing just that, so now we get to knock out just the Charcadet. They will still have their draw engine intact, so we do have to worry about that a little bit, but Cornerstone is not good into this matchup, so we don't have to worry about Solrock as much. We just know that it's a free attacker for them, essentially. Here they do get down another Charcadet. They are doing a whole bunch of draw. They have literally 6 draw every time we knock something out each turn, because they get 3 from Fez and then 3 from Lunatone if they have a fighting energy in hand. So that is one of the insane things that this Ceruledge deck can do. As for us, our turn next turn isn't looking terrible. We have a Prism energy that we can actually throw on this Teal mask, and because we have the Earthen Vessel and the Ogre's mask, we can actually get 2 more grass, be able to fully have a Wellspring set up again, actually take the knockout on the Ceruledge, and knock out the other Charcadet again. So we got to pump 2 times in a row. It does take a lot of resources, but we're also just shuffling our energy back so we can actually draw into it later on as well. Here we are also just powering up our other Teal mask as well, but now for the attack, we do get a total of 2 prizes this turn because they had the Legacy energy on their Ceruledge. Unfortunately, it would have been amazing to take 3 prizes, because then with the boss, we could have easily knocked out either the Squawkabilly or taken out something like the Fez if we had a better combination of cards. Here though, they are going to get down double Charcadet again. This way they make it harder for us to do a 3rd Torrential Pump and stop them from even being able to play the game. But if we can do a 3rd Torrential Pump here, we could still just pretty much set up for the win condition no matter what, and then have the boss to be able to boss up the Lunatone and knock it out. We would knock out the Solrock and one of the Charcadets with the Torrential Pump as well, by the way, so that would be the way that we'd want to win if we can get all that set up, because we do have another Prism energy in our hand. We just don't have the 2 grass that's needed. Here though, we are just going to Ultra Ball away. I really wanted to keep the ends plan, but I want to keep the boss even more. We're going to fail to find, and then we will put down that Prism, use our energy switch, and then just use Mew's restart. Here we draw into the Lillie's Determination, so I'm hesitating about using it because I want to hold on to the boss, but ultimately I decide it's better to just get 6 new cards and see what we get. We do get a Grass Energy plus the Earthen Vessel, so we can actually get some more search. I should have used the Tera Orb, gotten a Cornerstone, and then discarded the Cornerstone to the Earthen Vessel just to thin my deck out a extra card in case we get Iono'd, but ultimately it doesn't fully matter too much. Here we do have everything set up, so next turn we will be able to take 2 knockouts and then use our Teal mask to hopefully finish the game. They do have double Ceruledge on the field now, so we are going to have to take out both of the Lunatone and the Solrock, and then we will have to knock out something else, which is most likely going to be a Squawkabilly, and we'll knock that out with a Teal mask. Now, we do still have 2 boss left in the deck as well, so that is something to note, where we could, if we had a boss in this hand, we could have bossed up the Ceruledge, deal 200 damage to it, knock out the Solrock, and then be able to use that as a way of getting a knockout next turn as well. But this way, we are just setting up for another Ogre's Mask, just in case. I haven't really checked to see if it's in the deck, but either way, we will have enough damage with this Teal Mask to be able to take a knockout anyway. Here we are just going to knock out the Lunatone in the Solrock instead, set up for everything, and now it's up to them to get 4 prizes, and most of our energy is on this Teal Mask. So they do have the Counter Catcher, so they will be able to knock out our Teal Mask, getting rid of 3 core energy and putting those into our discard. We do have 2 more grass energy in our hand, and we do have a Ursaluna. So we can set up a checkmate board state where we have Ursaluna, have that down on the bench, and then be able to deal a bunch of damage with this Teal Mask, making it so that way then the Ursaluna can one-shot it next turn, and even if they have a boss to boss up the Ursaluna, the Teal Mask can still deal enough damage to knock out the Ceruledge anyway. So the only ways that they could really do anything to stop it is if they, with our hand currently, they would need a Iono to put this boss on the bottom of her deck and hope that we don't draw into our other copy of boss. Here though, we are just going to set up that checkmate. We do have the Prism energy still in hand. We know that they're only at 3 prizes. They don't have any spread damage that they can do to win the game next turn. Here they do draw the Jet energy and they're able to get up a fresh Ceruledge. They do have the boss to get rid of our Ursaluna, and pretty much that's the best play that they could hope for, other than using like a Iono and then a Counter Catcher instead of the boss. That would have been the perfect play, but here they had to use the boss, so we are just going to be able to boss up their Ceruledge and knock it out for game. Alright, so game number 2 is against the Goldango. So this is the tournament match. So you guys will already know from the beginning, the intro and all that, I did lose this match, but I feel like there's a lot of key points in this match that I really wanted to highlight and showcase to you if you guys do plan on playing the Oger Box deck. So the big thing about this matchup is it used to be heavily in our favor. It was over a 60% win rate for us because we could rely heavily on Cornerstone or Ogerpon to basically be a wall that they can't ever get past. But with the addition of Solrock and Lunatone in the new variation of the way that they build their deck for it, with like multiple Super Rods, and they're using Prime Catcher now, things like that, we actually don't have a good win rate into this deck anymore. They can just use Solrock to constantly knock out our Cornerstones, because our Cornerstones only have 210 HP. It takes 3 hits from a Solrock to knock it out, but our only real good way of powering up a Cornerstone is either using a Teal Mask to power it up or using just manual attaches. And if you're doing the manual attaches like what you should be doing in most cases, it makes it incredibly difficult and very hard for you to actually win the matchup, because by the time that you get all 3 energy down, your opponent's already going to put you down into just one-shot range with a Solrock. So you'll knock out that Solrock. If they have like a Night Stretcher or a Super Rod plus Artisan and an energy, they can easily get that Solrock back on the field and then take 2 prizes from you and force you into having to find your second Cornerstone and getting that powered up as fast as possible. So it's just overall a much more difficult matchup for us solely because of these brand new cards. That's one of the things that I wanted to showcase in this matchup. Now, as for the board state in the game, as you saw, they did use a boss. They bossed up our Cornerstone to start putting damage on it. We have to put down this Latios to do free retreat to put up our Iron Bundle, but they have their ace specs, so they're able to just constantly get this Cornerstone back into the active while we're still powering it up. That way then they can deal damage with the Solrock and get it down into one-shot range. So we will be able to knock out the Solrock next turn, but they have the Artisan set up. We don't have either of our stadiums to be able to stadium bump the Artisan, and there's nothing that we can really do about it at this point. So we do take a knockout there. We do get the first prize of the game, but our hand isn't looking the greatest either. We need to find another Prism Energy, we need to find a Cornerstone, and we need to find some way of getting everything powered up. But we can't put too many liabilities on the field. We know that they're going to take a knockout on this Cornerstone next turn, and as it is right now, they have enough Pokemon on our side of the bench that they can just boss up and be able to win the game once they knock out this Cornerstone. So here they're just setting up their card draw and everything, so it's very difficult of a position for us. One of the things that I did really want to add was like the Bravery Charms to deal with this Solrock, but at the same time I felt like the Paldean Tauros was just a little bit better. It's something that we can bring in as a finisher when we need it, and if we can get off to the races correctly with the deck, then there is a decent chance that we can like have the fighting strength to get to that position where we're just using Tauros to one-shot one of the Goldangos. It's just this game, we weren't really in that position. Our opponent opened up exactly what they needed from the get-go, and there's nothing that we could do to really stop that. In's plan isn't going to be useful at any point in this matchup. We do have 2 more Grass Energy in our hand, and luckily we did draw into that Prism Energy as well. Now then, I am holding on to this Iono solely because I know that my opponent's most likely going to boss up either the Fez or the Latios and knock it out next turn, which means that I can then Iono them down to 2, and that's pretty much what I need to do. Otherwise, what they could be doing is they could attach a air balloon to the active and then going into the Solrock and just trying to beat down this Cornerstone again. But like I had initially said, they are using that boss and they will be knocking out our Fez, stopping us from drawing 3. So now our whole game plan is we need to set up a way of just not losing here. So one of the things that we are going to hope to find is our Legacy Energy, but that is going to be very detrimental for us too, because if we're having to use a turn attaching Legacy Energy to our Latios, that pretty much means that that's a turn off of us attaching to Cornerstone, and that's going to be very dangerous. Because of course they have the Solrock to be able to knock it out. Here, we did put them down to only 2 cards, so with their draw for turn, they're up to 3. But because it's Goldango, and they have 3 Goldangos on the field, they will be able to draw anywhere from 4 to 5 cards this turn. And luckily they do just have a Goldango stuck in the active, but all they have to really do is just manually attach to it, and then they can just freely retreat it. Here they pop their Iron Bundle, so we just give our Iron Bundle up as well, which this is still pretty dangerous for us, because if they knock out this Iron Bundle, then our Legacy Energy just does nothing for us, and at that point we need a penny to get the Latios off of the board, and we need to basically sit on our Cornerstone and hope that that's enough to win the game, which means that we also need to find bosses to be able to get rid of this Solrock before it knocks our Cornerstone out. Here they are going to Arven, and they're just looking through their deck. Their deck is super small right now. It's only 14 cards left, so pretty much they have everything that they could need at any point, and they just pass the turn. So they don't even knock out the Iron Bundle. So here, I'm just thinking, okay, well, if they're not going to knock out the Iron Bundle, I'm going to free retreat and bring up the Cornerstone. I'm going to attach the Legacy to the Latias, and then I'm just going to use Iron Bundle's ability, see what they give me. They're probably just going to give me the Air Balloon one, which they do. And then I can just Lily's Determination here, but instead, I just pass the turn. I needed to put down that Legacy Energy. I know that they can use the Solrock next turn to start dealing damage to the Cornerstone, but I should be able to knock out this Solrock, and then they bring up the other one. It puts us down to only 70 HP left, but we knock that one out as well in one shot, and we just need to hope that they don't have their last Super Rod to win the game. So that's the exact play that we're going for, and that's what we're hoping for as well. So here we do have the boss to be able to go with it in case they decided to just hold back on the Soul Rock. But what we would really like to see is another Iono. Putting them down to only 2 cards would be huge. And we don't really need any other cards to be able to win the game at this point, other than, like, you know, another boss to be able to knock something else out, like the Lunatone. That's the other thing that I could have aimed down, was the Lunatone, but the fact that they have already used a Super Rod and they played both of their Soul Rocks, they have a high chance of having another Lunatone in hand. That's the reason why I'm just aiming down the Soul Rocks instead. But if you feel that your opponent may have prized a Lunatone in this situation, definitely go after the Lunatone. I just got the feeling that they had it in hand. That's why I didn't. So here they do play down the Super Rod, and that is pretty much game for us because they still have the Artisan. We still haven't drawn into any of our stadiums to be able to stadium bump, and they win the game. Alright, so game number 3 is against Guardy, and I'm not going to tell you guys whether or not this is a win or a loss. That's the reason why in the intro I only said that I was going to show you guys 2 ladder games and 1 tournament loss. That way then you guys could look forward to this match specifically, because this one is actually a really good one. So previous format, this was a very bad matchup for us because Guardy as a matchup was only a 21% win rate for Ogerpon. And then if they were playing like the Guardy Jellicent version, it was only a 11 or 12% win rate. So really, really bad win rates. But there is some things that happen in this matchup that is really good, and things that I just wanted to point out as plays that you should do. Even if you're in a losing matchup overall, you should just be trying to aim down and focus your game plan on how you win. One of the big things to worry about is prize mapping, and in this matchup, using things like Torrential Pump from your Wellspring are going to be huge. And Cornerstone, while it may not seem like a very good Pokemon to use in this matchup, actually is one of your best ones. So here, as you see, they are just completely set up. You know, they got double Kirlia in the back row, they have a Ralts in the active, they got multiple Psychic Energy in the discard, they still have 4 cards left because they had used a secret box. Like, they have everything that they could need right now. As for us, our board doesn't look terrible either. So here we are just going to Lillie's Determination. We're not going to put down that Wellspring. We could have, but we're not going to. And then we actually find a Energy Switch, and we find a Legacy Energy, which is huge. So what we can do is we can use this Iron Bundle, get one of the Kirlias up, use the Energy Switch, and immediately attack on our second turn, knocking out one of the Kirlias, putting them down to only 1 Kirlia left, and then a Ralts. So even if they have Gardevoir, they'll only be able to get 1 Gardevoir down. If they're running the Mega Gardevoir variant, then they can't get the Mega Gardevoir down this turn either. So they have to pick and choose which Gardevoir they want down, and our goal is going to be just try to focus down whatever attackers they put down on the bench. The only real attackers that we have to worry about for our Cornerstone in this matchup is Mew EX, Screamtail, and Drifloon. So depending on what they have down is what we have to worry about. Here they are just putting themselves down to 0 cards in hand because they are just going to use Restart on their Mew, and because they already have a Gardevoir EX on the field, they can just attack with this Mew this turn as well. And the way that the Mew gets through, even though it has an ability, is that it copies our attack, and our attack goes through any sort of special effects on the opponent's active Pokemon, like the Cornerstone's ability. So that's the reason why that works that way. Here we are just going to put a Prism Energy on our Teal mask, and we will just knock out this Mew. So now we get to take 2 more prizes, putting ourselves down to only 3 prizes remaining, and our opponent still has yet to take a prize. But depending on what they draw into, which they draw into a Lillie's, so they get 8 new cards because they haven't taken a prize yet. And then here they have the Super Rod, so they're just going to put some of their Pokemon and a Dark Energy back. They put down a Ralts, and then they use this Ultra Ball, and they're most likely going to find another Mew. They get that down, and they will be able to knock out our Cornerstone this turn. But they're only going to take one prize because we have the Legacy Energy. Now then, we are hoping is we can just knock out the Mew EX with our Teal mask, and then all we need is just a single prize for the following turn, and we do have this other Teal mask, and we do have the boss. So the prize map for the rest of the game is essentially knock out this Mew, take 2 prizes, go down to 1 prize remaining, set up this other Teal mask, and use a boss to knock out like the Monkey Dory or the Rolts to be able to win for game. The only thing that can disrupt us is a Iono. We will still be able to get the Teal mask built up. It's just if they Iono us, we lose our bosses in our hand, and we only have 1 more boss in the deck, and we have to find that boss because they're going to put both of these on the bottom. So here we are just setting up that other Teal mask, and I do decide that I am going to use the Teal mask ability. I'm trying to thin my deck as much as possible. I expect that they're going to have an Iono next turn. That's why I'm doing so. I do still use that Night Stretcher. That way then we have a Teal mask completely set up, and we don't have to use an energy switch or draw another energy for it. And here we have everything set up that we could need. It's just, do they have the Iono or not? They need a Iono. They also need a Dark Energy so they can actually one-shot our Teal mask. There's the Iono. They get to draw 5 cards, but look at what they give us off of it. They give us the boss's orders. That means that we have game no matter what, and I'm just going to let the rest of this match play out for you guys. So after a full month with Oger Box, here are my final thoughts. Overall, I really did enjoy the deck. On paper, it looks straightforward when I first started, but once you actually play it, you realize it's much more intricate than that. Most games feel like solving a puzzle, and when the pieces come together, it's a lot of fun. That said, the deck isn't without flaws. Oger Box has a lot of moving parts, and that complexity can work against it. Too often, it ends up bricking or struggling to get the right cards in the right order. While it has moments of brilliance, that inconsistency keeps it from being a top-tier option in the current format. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button and subscribe for more Meta Mondays, Rogue Thursdays, and my 1 month 1 deck series every Saturday.